I can still see the lens of his camera catching every hesitant expression on my face as he slid it onto the tripod in our living room. It was a Sunday afternoon, and the warm light from the tall windows cast soft shadows across the hardwood floors. My husband, Greg, grinned widely, urging me to stand in front of the frame and smile for the camera. I paused, smoothing the fabric of my dress, wondering what he was planning to film today. I had known that Greg loved recording moments, family gatherings, birthday celebrations, and even mundane evenings when we cooked dinner together. For 7 years, I played the part of willing participant, offering my warmest smiles and laughter at his prompts. Yet lately, I'd felt a subtle shift. He spent hours editing clips on his laptop in our study, whispering about special projects he couldn't wait to share. Every time I asked for details, he deflected with a playful shrug or a teasing remark about surprises. I tried not to overthink it as I positioned myself. Greg adjusted the focus on my face. The red recording light blinked steadily. I forced a smile that felt brittle, glancing down once to smooth the hem of my dress. A soft click sounded, and Greg whispered, "Perfect." He directed me to turn slightly toward the window so the natural light would highlight my cheekbones. His voice was warm, encouraging, yet I noticed a hint of something unreadable in his tone, a flicker that made a strange knot twist in my stomach. My heart pounded uncomfortably. I hesitated when I paused mid-pose and asked if everything was okay. Greg laughed softly and threw the camera toward me. "Relax," he said. "I just want to capture that beautiful smile. I'll show you the playback later." His reassurance should have eased me, but instead it stirred more questions. What was he planning? Why couldn't he tell me now? I nodded, exhaling. He clicked again, and I continued, though a part of me wanted to walk away from the lens and insist on honesty. My curiosity mingled with fear. I glanced at him for assurance. An hour later, Greg invited me into the study where the laptop screen glowed. I perched beside him on the sleek leather chair, my fingers intertwined in my lap. He hit play. At first, I saw only my smiling face framed by soft light, exactly as I had performed. Then the camera angle shifted. I gasped when I recognized the reflection in the window behind me, a silhouette of a figure standing in the hallway, watching. Only the faintest detail, but unmistakable. My breath caught. I questioned him. I swallowed hard and asked, "Who's there?" Greg clicked pause and leaned back, arms crossed. He muttered something about a glare and told me I must be imagining things. His dismissal stung me more than the shock. I sank into the chair, pressing my temples as my mind raced. After he shut down the laptop and left the room, I felt a restless urgency to inspect the raw footage file, hidden deep in the folder labeled Memories. I clicked through frame by frame. At the moment I had smiled, another clip rolled in. Captured from a tiny lens hidden near the ceiling. It showed Greg pacing behind the tripod, mouthing words I couldn't hear. He adjusted something off-screen and nodded grimly. My blood ran cold as I realized this wasn't a playful surprise. He'd orchestrated every shot, including clandestine angles I didn't consent to. A wave of betrayal crashed over me. I covered my mouth. My mind raced through the early days of our marriage, recalling whispers of his perfectionism and his need to control every detail. I remembered how he insisted on choosing our vacation itinerary down to the minute and how he cataloged every photo on his phone, labeling them meticulously. I had laughed it off as quirkiness, proof of his dedication. Now I saw those tendencies for what they were, markers of a deeper need for dominance. I sat in silence, listening to the hum of the laptop fan as tears welled in my eyes. Of fear and determination mingled inside me. I clenched my fists, knowing I couldn't let Greg's secret recordings go unanswered. I could delete the files, erase the proof, pretend I never saw anything. Or I could confront him, demand answers, and risk the facade of our happy life crumbling. My pulse thundered in my ears as I closed the folder labeled Memories. I leaned back, staring at the wall clock ticking past 8. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to face him. Tonight I needed to calm the storm raging in my chest as I climbed the stairs to our bedroom. Each step echoed my doubt. The quiet of the hallway pressed on me, filled with unsaid words and broken trust. I paused at the doorway, flipping on the lamp to reveal the familiar softness of our sheets. Lying down, I stared at the ceiling, mind replaying every moment of the recording. Sleep felt impossible. I reached for my phone, considered calling my friend, Sarah, the one person I could trust to help me sort this mess. But I hesitated, knowing that once I shared my secret, there was no turning back. I spent the next morning staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, trying to summon enough courage to face Greg. My hand hovered over my phone as I debated calling Sarah for backup, but I knew there was something I had to do on my own first. I splashed cold water on my face and inhaled deeply, reminding myself that I wasn't powerless. I was a 35-year-old woman who had built a career in marketing, negotiating deals, and commanding respect in the boardroom. If I could broker a multi-million-dollar contract, I could certainly handle a confrontation with my husband downstairs. The kitchen smelled of fresh coffee. Greg was already at the table, scrolling through his phone with that same calm, self-satisfied expression he wore when he thought nothing could surprise him. He looked up as I entered, eyebrows arching in a silent question. I set my jaw and poured myself a cup. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. He studied me for a moment, then gestured to the seat opposite him. "Sure, Han," he said. "What's on your mind?" I sat down and let the silence stretch out, watching him sip his coffee. Then I leaned forward. "Last night, I watched the raw footage from your special project." My heart lurched as I said it, but I forced myself to meet his gaze. Greg's eyes flickered, and a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, like he thought I was joking. "The one where you secretly filmed me?" I continued, though my throat felt tight. "The one where you have that tiny hidden camera up by the ceiling, where you were pacing and mouthing to someone off-screen?" Greg set his mug down with deliberate calm. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, voice flat. My pulse hammered. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, handing it across the table. On the screen was the thumbnail of the hidden angle clip, just as I'd captured it. "Explain this," I said. His jaw clenched. For the first time, I saw a flicker of genuine panic in his eyes that he swallowed and ran a hand through his hair. "It was for a vlog series I'm working on," he began, voice low. "I wanted to show the process behind a video shoot, from multiple angles, so people could see the authenticity." My chest tightened. "You wanted to show the authenticity of a video shoot by deceiving your own wife?" I asked. His eyes darted away. "I didn't intend for you to feel betrayed," he said. "I thought you'd be flattered that I care so much about quality." "Flattered?" I echoed, incredulous. "You covertly filmed me without my consent, manipulated angles to capture my private reactions, and dismissed my feelings when I asked who was in the background. That isn't dedication, it's deception." My voice rose, sharp with anger and hurt. He pressed his lips together, silent. I realized that silence was my ally. I let the truth settle between us. After a moment, he sighed and looked at me with an expression I hadn't seen in years, remorse. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I got carried away. But sorry felt flimsy. I folded my arms. "Sorry isn't enough," I said. "Trust was the foundation of this marriage. You broke it." Tears pricked my eyes, not just from anger but from grief for the intimacy we once shared, now fractured by his need to control every frame. I stood up, pacing the kitchen as images from the hidden footage swirled in my mind. "I've thought about deleting the files, pretending none of this happened. But I can't erase what I saw," I said. Greg watched me, guilt weighing down his posture. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. I stopped and turned to face him. "I want you to be honest," I said. "I want an explanation of why you felt you had the right to invade my privacy. And I want to know what you plan to do with those videos." He nodded slowly. "I want to apologize properly," he said. "I'll delete every clip you don't consent to. I'll sit with you and talk through boundaries, start couples therapy if you want. Relief and skepticism warred inside me. Part of me ached to believe him, to salvage the love we still shared. But I needed more than promises. I'll think about therapy, I said. But right now, I need space to process this. And I need you to respect that. I grabbed my bag and kissed the top of his head, an almost maternal gesture, one I hadn't intended. It surprised me how tender it felt, even now. I walked out of the kitchen, heading back up to our bedroom to gather my things. I paused in the hallway and glanced back at the door, imagining the cracks forming in the life we built together. I wondered if we could ever truly rebuild that trust, or if this betrayal would always linger in the corners of our memories. By noon, I was in my car, headed to Sarah's apartment. The sun was high, and the heat rising from the pavement mirrored the tension bubbling in my chest. But as I drove, a sense of clarity settled over me. I wasn't just Greg's character in his perfect little videos, I was my own person, deserving of respect and honesty. No matter what happened next, I knew I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my own story. I pulled into Sarah's driveway just as the late afternoon sun cast long shadows on the sidewalk. My hands trembled as I locked the car, but when I saw her waiting on the porch, all the fear I'd clung to since morning slipped out in a single sob. Sarah swept me into a tight hug, murmuring my name. Inside her apartment, I laid out every detail, hidden cameras, muffled pacing, Greg's deflection, and she listened without interruption. The tears fell freely as I realized how alone I'd felt. Her steady presence grounded me, reminding me that I wasn't defeated. We sat at her kitchen table, mugs of tea growing cold, while she gently asked what I wanted most. Her voice was soft but insistent, steering me away from rash impulses. You need to decide what you're willing to accept, she said. Do you want to rebuild trust, or walk away? She outlined practical steps, documenting the evidence. If I chose separation, setting firm digital boundaries, and considering marriage counseling if I hoped to reconcile. Her advice was both a lifeline and a challenge, to claim agency over my own life again. Alone later, I scrolled through my phone, drafting emails to a family law attorney and a therapist. Each sentence felt momentous. I am seeking advice regarding personal privacy violations in my marriage. My marketing career had taught me the power of precise language and strategic planning. Now, I applied the same skills to my personal crisis. The rhythm of typing grounded me, turning raw emotion into actionable steps. For the first time since discovering the hidden footage, I felt my panic ease into purpose. Night came, and I lay awake in Sarah's guest bed, the ceiling familiar and comforting. Memories of Greg's controlling judgment in subtle ways, choosing my clothes, editing my social media posts, slid into focus. It wasn't just the camera, it was a pattern of minimizing my autonomy. I realized trust had been eroding long before. The covert filming. The truth stung, but also clarified my path forward. I needed to reclaim not only my privacy but my voice. The next morning, I called Greg. My voice was calm, rehearsed. I'm back at Sarah's. We need to meet and talk, no cameras, no surprises, this Sunday at noon, at the cafe on Maple Street. He hesitated, then agreed. Hanging up, I felt both dread and relief. I spent the day researching therapists in our area, reading reviews, and drafting questions about confidentiality and approach. By evening, I'd narrowed it down to 3 counselors who specialized in trauma and relationships. Sunday at noon, I sat under the red awning of the Maple Street Cafe, hands wrapped around a lukewarm latte. Greg arrived, looking tense in a crisp button-down shirt. There were no cameras visible, just the two of us. He slid into the seat opposite me, eyes downcast. I watched him for a moment before speaking. I've scheduled an appointment with a therapist. I'm also going to speak with a lawyer about my rights in our digital life. His face paled. He reached out, hesitated, then withdrew his hand. I understand, he whispered. I want to do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. He described how he would delete all unapproved footage, hand over his editing files, and attend therapy both alone and together. His words sounded earnest. I nodded, noting the sincerity in his posture and tone, but also measuring whether his promises matched the scope of his betrayal. Walking back to my car, I felt the sun warm my shoulders. I opened my journal and wrote, "Today I took control. I'm proud of myself for setting boundaries and demanding honesty. I'm terrified of what comes next, but I know I won't be silent again. I'll keep my appointments, document everything, and stay connected to friends who remind me of my worth." I closed the notebook, breathing in the promise of a future shaped by my choices. Today, as I started the engine, I realized this chapter of my life was far from over. I didn't yet know if our marriage would survive, but for the first time in weeks, I felt anchored by clarity instead of fear. The road ahead would demand courage and perseverance, but I'd already taken the first decisive steps. I glanced at the rearview mirror, catching my own determined gaze. Tomorrow I'd begin therapy, and only after that would I decide how to face what comes next. I drove away, ready to see where this journey would lead.